So Brittney, to get things going in the right direction, I want to go back to something that you mentioned on our weekly mindset support call. You said something to the effect of you are now going to wear your hair, long hair, don't care. Can you give us a little bit more background into that?
Of course. So I have naturally curly hair, and growing up, you kind of always want the opposite of what you have. So everyone that I knew had straight hair, and I was kind of one of the only people to have curly hair. So I would do literally anything and everything to have it straightened. And if I was going somewhere nice or a special occasion, I'd want my hair straight because I felt more confident in that way. And that continued through most of my life up until probably a month or two ago, where I just was talking to my coach, Rita, about this journey and everything. And she kind of challenged me to focus on other parts of my life too. And it sounds so silly to have hair be such a staple, like important thing, but it really was. And I decided, like, I'm done trying to manipulate my hair for something else when it is beautiful and it's something that some people want to, and let's go for it. So literally, I think it was 2 or 3 weeks ago, I went to my mom and was like, Mom, we're doing something big. We're cutting off my hair. And I cut 5 inches off, which I've never done before. And I have been wearing it curly like ever since, and have just, even today, like I'm on something that I've never done before and super nervous and excited, but I was like, no, rock the curls. You're going to do it. Like, it's something that I want to embrace all parts of myself. I'm learning to love myself again. And this is part of it, whether we think it's silly or not. It's a huge part of accepting yourself.
And if you're listening to this right now, head over to the Shots to the Dome podcast Instagram account to check out the amazing curls that Brittney is rocking for this episode. And I have to imagine, since you made that decision, it's all worked out. You feel freer. You're enjoying it.
Yes, so much so. And I used to not get as many compliments like about my hair if it was curly, but I also think I wasn't doing it a really good job of like actually emphasizing the curls. But now, I mean, people will say stuff all the time, which is great, but I also can leave the house and be like, wow, I feel like I look great today. It's so surreal. It seems so silly, but it's so surreal.
It's an empowering thought, right?
It
When, like
is.
you said, we start to embrace ourselves. And I know we'll get into it, but I oftentimes equate a fitness journey with a self-love journey, because at the end of the day, the fitness journey, we're doing things to treat ourselves better. And so that story that you shared on Mindset Support and that you reiterated right now, where did that, and I'm going somewhere with this, you already know, like, where did that confidence come from to be like, you know what, I'm just going to rock my hair and see how it goes?
It's going to sound so cheesy when I say it, but DLD has absolutely changed my life for the better. It's something that I wasn't confident in myself, and I didn't realize how unconfident I was and how much I treated myself poorly, like not on purpose, but just I wasn't treating myself great. And once I started DLD and going through the journey and doing these protocols, I would hear all the time about people like having this amazing mindset shift. And I was like, oh, I really want one of those. And lo and behold, it was there and it was going to happen. And being consistent with my protocols and just my effort, all of a sudden I started to feel different. I started to, and it wasn't so much physical, it was truly mental. I remember going on a trip, it was in March. It was for a 30th birthday in Vegas. And I was like, whoa, Vegas, we're doing it. Like, we have to have all the fun clothes. We got to do all the cool things. And I remember going, and it was the first trip, God, in years where I have felt awesome, where I wasn't worried about taking a photo. I wasn't worried about, oh my God, what if I have a bad hair day? Who cares? It's Vegas. Everybody's got bad hair days. It's one of the, like, I just had so much confidence. And I remember coming back and telling Rita, I have this confidence that I don't know where it came from, but it's here and I think it's going to stay. And it's so cool to feel that way. I never knew I could feel this way. And it's all because of the work and the resources provided by DLD. I was the type that I was like, I'm doing it. I paid for it. Let's go. I'm subscribing to everything. I'm joining this. I'm joining that. Like I'm both feet head first, all in. Like it's gonna happen. So doing all of that, I think really helped start to shift and being able to share and talk and learn from other people, especially on the mindset calls, just about life, whether it's fitness, work, whatever the case may be, just hearing everything it changes you too.
First off, shout out to Coach Rita, one of
Yes.
our amazing
Oh,
coaches here in
love
DLDNation.
her.
So yeah, she's awesome. So shout out to Rita. Secondly, I really appreciate you sharing that journey, because for those listening, like Brittney said, she dove in both feet first into everything that DLDNation has to offer, including the weekly mindset support calls that I host. And over the course of the last month, you shared that story about being okay with your curls, embracing that.
Yeah.
And then you also shared recently that you had signed up for another 12 months of coaching with us. And that's when and you were saying like, oh my God, this has changed my life, et cetera, everything you just shared. And that's when I asked if you'd be on the podcast to talk about your
Yes.
journey. And so now that you dove in, it's working, you signed up for longer term with us, which I appreciate, which I know Rita's excited about. Let's go back in time to what motivated you to sign up for coaching with DLDNation, because of course, with what you've shared, Brittney, what I know about you, this has changed your life. It's been life-changing. So if we go back in time to that inciting incident, what was the reason for
Mhm.
signing up with us?
I think there was a slew of different reasons. And I batted it around for so long. I had a history of like yo-yo dieting, keto, this, that, and the other, quick fixes, all of these things where like, yes, I found short-term success, but I felt awful during it. It all came back and then some. It was just, defeating at the end of the day. And my goal is to start a family one day with my husband. And knowing that is in the future, I want to be able to be healthy, not only just for myself, but for our relationship and our future kids and their mindsets and what they're going to grow up watching and seeing. And I want to try to be a good example, but also set them up for success too. And so initially, that was kind of my thought process is this is what I want to do. And it was purely physical at the time when I signed up. And I actually spoke with Coach Hannah, who is an amazing friend of mine. I've known her since back in college days.
Oh, no
And
way.
I
I
was
had no
going,
idea.
yeah, we went to JMU together.
That's
So,
super cool.
yeah, longtime friends. She was actually a bridesmaid at my wedding too.
Oh, no way.
uh, yep, yep. And I talked to her and was like, I'm thinking about this. Like, what do you think? And she gave me additional insight and was like, if you're going to do this, like, I'm supporting you. Like, you've got this. Like, I'm here for you. And it was the Black Friday deal. And I was like, listen, all right, if it's now or never, like just do it. You hate pictures, you hate doing like group setting stuff because you're afraid you don't know what you want to wear and all this stuff. Like enough is enough, kind of calling myself on my BS and being like, just do it. And so that day I did it and I texted Hannah and was like, Hannah, I filled out the form. I hope I get picked. And she was like, you get picked, don't worry, like it'll happen. And yeah, the rest is kind of history.
Something that I want to tease out, and you probably saw me taking notes, is the mental transformation, the mindset transformation that comes from all this. I often joke with people I talk with that clients first sign up because of the physical, because of the aesthetics. It's, I want to be able to fit into that wedding dress, or I want to be able to go to the lake this summer and not care about taking off my shirt. And then clients get 3 months in, 4 months in, and they're like, you know what? I'm noticing all of these positive changes. And that goal that I first signed up for, that's kind of out the window. Like I have these new goals because I'm noticing all these changes. And so I'll often say that the mindset transformation, if we could see that, would be more mind blowing than the physical transformations that we see in DLDNation. You would probably agree with that one.
Oh my gosh, you have no idea. Like it is unreal. I used to tie so much to physical everything and including the scale, which the scale is stupid. It is such a minuscule part of someone's progress. Like I remember having a really hard mental block with it because I was seeing physical changes, but the number on the scale wasn't necessarily moving. And I was getting frustrated. And I remember talking to Rita, and she had asked me a bunch of follow up questions about, how's your digestion? How is your sleep? How are your cycles? And things like that. And I was like, oh, well, digestion's on point. My sleep is a lot better. And I have had multiple painless cycles. And I have never had a painless cycle before. And never did I realize what I'm eating and what physical activity I'm doing would so impact that I'm like, wow, okay, so I have had all this success, even if this number has not changed a whole lot. I have so much more success than society will tell me that I've had.
Yeah, 100%. It's something that I know we talk about often in mindset support, just the scale and how we've been programmed
Mhm.
to really pay attention to it and how it kind of runs our lives from a fitness standpoint. But it's really
Totally.
cool that you're pointing out when we actually start to manage a lot of these protocols related to a fitness journey, all of a sudden we start seeing the truth, which is the scale is just one metric of success in a sea of metrics that we have. And so kind of using that as a segue, Brittney, I'm curious, what was something that you thought was super hard in the beginning of your fitness journey, or a group of things that were super hard that you're now like, oh my God, I can do that in my sleep?
Yeah. So the first thing that comes to my mind is water. Drinking water. It sounds so bad to say, but I would drink like a glass or two a day and be like, yeah, I'm good. I had my 8 ounces or whatever. But talking with Rita, she set me up for such success because it wasn't this overarching goal when I first started. It wasn't like I'm going from not drinking any water to being like, you have to hit over a gallon. It was something she was like, let's try to get 60 to 70 ounces at first. And when we're doing that pretty consistently, can you let me know? And I was like, sure. So I bought like a nice, fun water bottle and was like, let's try to get this going. And just drinking water was so difficult at first, but now I'm at a gallon, sometimes over a gallon. And it's like, oh, no worries. Like I get up, I have water. There's little tips and tricks that I've learned along the way with water in particular of like using fruit in it or, some electrolytes or, when you get up before you eat and have coffee, have some water. And it just helps, it's something that it's not so daunting anymore. And another one is steps. I thought I was pretty good at steps. And then when I started, because I would get between like 6 and 7,000 every day, but also on the weekends, I'd be getting like 2, maybe 4,000 every day. So consistently getting up to 10,000 was hard at first, but we have a dog, Rocky, who gets a walk or two every single day. So that helps a lot. And just, riding a bike or other things that has helped too. But yeah, those two things when I first started, I was like, whoa, how am I going to do this? This is a commitment. But now it's so a part of my daily life. It's something that I notice if I don't have enough water or if I don't get enough steps, I'm not feeling so hot. It's made such a difference to where even if I know I'm having a busy day coming up, I try to get those things front loaded so that later I'm not so stressed about it. And I know at the end of the day, I'll feel so much better.
I'm going to use a really cute analogy to drive home these points. Your dog, and remind me his name again.
Rocky.
So Rocky, when Rocky gets his walks and when Rocky is hydrated and gets his food and everything, he's a good boy, right?
He is.
And so then we think it's not the case as us as humans. It's like, oh, I only need one glass of water, I'll be fine, or I'm not going to move at all day. But then later we feel super thirsty, we're a little antsy, and we wonder why,
Yeah.
versus controlling for all these variables. What I think is really cool about your answers, Brittney, is they seem so simple.
Yeah.
And like I've done enough shameless plugs for my book, but for Hack Your Health, that was literally hacks. Like we had somebody come over the other day to like look at some stuff in our house because we're still sort of like actively moving in as a service provider, and he saw the book and he was like, oh, what do you guys do? And so long story short, I was like, yeah, all you need are kind of hacks. Like
Yeah.
like we think maybe you did, Brittney, before signing up with us, that it's this insurmountable mountain. Oh my God, I'm going to have to work out 6 days a week. I'm going to have to eat
Yes.
like a bird. When in
Yes.
actuality, it's like, oh, I just need to drink more water. Like, let me start there. Oh,
Yeah.
let me try to get more steps and keep that movement up. And I wanted to shout you out for your big water bottle. I'm glad you did, because
Oh, thank you.
yeah. And Brittney gave a ton of tips as far as putting fruit into your water. Having fruit infused water is great. Has that been that same water bottle since you started?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
It
Because
has
usually
been.
sometimes there's a difference between straws and no straws. Like
Mhm.
I'm a no straw person, but Dayla's a
Mhm.
straw person. And we've
Yeah.
noticed a huge shift with clients. If they can't drink enough water and they have an open mouth water bottle, we'll ask, well, why don't you get a straw? And they use it, like, oh my God, I'm hitting my water counts. This is great. Some
Yeah.
of the other tips, like you said, are drinking water when you first wake up. I think
Mhm.
this is super silly, but I'll share it with clients. When I first wake up, I take 10 to 12 gulps. And so I just like count the gulps in my head as I'm taking it down, just knowing that that's going to help me front load the water, going on
Yeah.
walks in the morning to get that out of the way. So I really love you bringing those up. So I have this water graphic in my phone, and you can see it's got Jason Momoa on it. So
Oh, yes.
whenever I send it to somebody, I say, hey, like if I have a client who, like yourself, is like, man, I can't get over 50 ounces of water, like why even do this? Or if someone's listening, they're wondering, what is drinking water going to do for my fitness journey? I
Yeah.
tell them that I'm going to send them some data, and it's from Aquaman. So it means something because it's about water. But
Absolutely.
drinking water can boost the number of calories you burn. Two studies note that it can increase metabolism by 24 to 30% over 1 to 1.5 hours. The optimal time to drink it is before meals. One study showed that downing 2.1 cups, 500 milliliters of water, 30 minutes before each meal increased weight loss by 44%.
Wow.
So if we're looking for hacks to not only live better, but help us in our fitness journey, water seems to be one of those main points. And that's
Oh,
so
yeah.
interesting that you found it challenging, but now it's super easy and it's just become habit.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's so great because people would say all the time, like, make sure you drink enough water. I'm like, oh, for the love of God, yes, I know water is important. And it really is important. It's something I now live and breathe it. And because I used to be one of those people that are like, yeah, okay, I hear ya. And I would struggle with water. But I also wasn't really trying that hard either, but just trying to get some water. But now if I don't have it's a problem. I'm like, oh my God, I need to have something. And if
Yeah.
I'm drinking water too late, I know I'm up in the middle of the night like 3 or 4 times. But it's so, so important and sounds so silly, so simple, but it's so impactful.
And it's now become habit. And that's something
Yes.
that I think we miss on a fitness journey sometimes when we start that journey, is we think this is all going to be hard forever, when
Yes.
what actually happens is we start to add these new habits to our routine, and then they do become routine. They become super easy. And then, like you said, Brittany, noticing, hey, if I slam a ton of water before going to bed, like were you on the team? I don't think you were on the team. Did you know this backpacking trip I went on in 2021? It was in January.
I don't think so.
So real quick, a friend of mine, Michael Caju, it was actually the baby shower. He was the husband at the
Oh,
baby shower.
nice.
He had a group of men, that about 10 people, that he was taking out into the backcountry here in Texas. And it was going to be a week-long thing off the grid. And he supplied the tent, the sleeping bag, a bunch of other things, and then had a list of what we needed to get. And I've never camped in my life. And so this was very much stepping out of my comfort zone, but I wanted to try it out. I was like, well, if this person knows what he's doing and they're providing all these tools, and I just need to get like my hiking boots and have a backpack of stuff to throw into the big pack, like that seems doable. But I noticed, because I was in a tent with a tent mate, that I really had to slow down on drinking water. And if I drank too much water, like I was trying to crawl over him to get out of the tent to go to the bathroom. And so I would drink during the day and on the hikes. And then when I would get to camp, I immediately switched to like sipping mode. And I would just
Yeah.
do some sips. And then I saw very slowly, or very quickly rather, that I wasn't getting up to go to the bathroom so frequently. And so I think it's interesting when we start to sort of toggle these things and play with
Yeah.
them, all of a sudden they get a little bit easier. And so kind of moving on to some other questions I wanted to ask. You already talked about what was hard, what became easy. What was something that you were just like, oh, that's an easy one, I'm already doing that, or this just came super easy to me?
I would say going to the gym. So working out. That for me, I really enjoy. I feel like it's a time that is full on to myself. And I will admit that before, or in the beginning when I started with DLD, I totally had the gym intimidation where I didn't feel that I deserved to be there as much as someone else who is perhaps further along in their journey. So I definitely would like rush through a couple of things because maybe somebody else needed it more than I did. But going to the gym regularly was something that I was very easy for me to do. It was something I was like, all right, let's go, let's do it. Like I love the barbell. I love the compound lifts. It was something, and I knew that we would be lifting heavy with DLD. Thank you to Hannah. And I was like, let's go. So that I was the most motivated and determined with right off the bat.
Shout out to Hannah. You know that she was my client way back when?
I do.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah. I just, we have our staff retreat here in about a week and a half. And so really excited to reconnect with Hannah, give her a big hug, all that good stuff. That's super cool that going to the gym was easy for you. That's a challenging one for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And then now go ahead.
Oh, I'm just going to say that it was enjoyable. You know, it was something that I didn't dread. So I feel like that made it a little easier.
As it relates to gym intimidation, which I'm now going to borrow, gym intimidation, hashtag gym intimidation. You said you were kind of like, hey, I have to get out of here before other people who need it. And I'm using air quotes. Mm-hmm. Now, are you okay taking up space? Or are you okay being like, I'm going to be here for as long as I'm going to be here type of thing?
Absolutely. It is something that I now, I think it's also because of the confidence I have in myself. I have realized that my goals and my journey are just as important as everybody else's, and every single person deserves space in the gym. Doesn't matter how old you are, doesn't matter where you are in your journey, if you're lifting 300 pounds, if you're lifting 30 pounds, like it doesn't matter. You're there, you deserve the space, you deserve the time. And now I do not feel bad for taking up a squat rack. I'm like, yeah, no, I'm here, sorry. Because before my journey, I was doing like shoulder presses, and my husband was in a rack next to me, and this guy came up and didn't ask any of the other dudes that were around, just asked me like, oh, you're not using this platform part, can I use it? And at the time I was like, oh God, oh yeah, go ahead. And my husband's over there looking at me like, you can say no. And afterwards, it was something that I was like, wow, I definitely should have said no, because I was going to be done in 2 sets. So you can wait like 3 minutes. It's not going to take very long. And now I recently had somebody ask me, you know, oh, are you almost done? And I was like, no, I have 4 sets left. But if you want to come back in like 10 minutes, it'll be yours. I'll make sure you have it. And he was like, oh, okay. You know, it was one of those that I don't feel bad for taking up space anymore. I have goals and I want to be there and I deserve to be there. And so I'm like, yeah, there's other things that you can do. You know, sometimes when other people are on something that I need, I look through my list and like, what can I do in between? Or I'll go up to them and say like, hey, I'm so sorry. Like, how many sets do you have left? Just so I can plan of like, oh, they got 5 minutes. Okay, cool. Like I can go do something else real quick. So now I don't have as much gym intimidation. It is, I kind of walk in and I'm like, yeah, okay, I'm here. Let's do it.
You've also gotten the reps in. And that's something I was picking up from your story, Brittney, is that and the nomenclature. Like previously the person came up to you and was like, hey, can I use this? Da, da, da. And maybe those who are newer to the gym, they don't know if they say like, hey, I have a couple sets left, and people can kind of, who are used to the gym, say, oh, that's X number of minutes, I can come back. Or like you said, they go into the gym and they're okay moving some things around. I mean, the most seasoned gym pro, they're either going to have to wait for a rack, let's say. And I have friends who do that. They go up to somebody and they're like, how many sets do you have left? And they'll, and I've even done this as well. If it's first exercise, I really want to hit it, I have the time, I'll ask somebody. And if they say like, oh, hey, I just started, or I have a couple sets left, I'll even say like, hey, cool, do you mind if I pop a squat? And like, no rush, I just want to grab this one after you. That's okay. Absolutely. But having that nomenclature of, this is what I say to somebody, like, oh, I have a couple sets of, like yesterday I was at the gym and there was a guy who had left his stuff at a machine and walked over to talk to a friend. And I went over and I was like, hey, you know, are you done over here? And he was like, oh, sorry, I have 1 set left, let me just knock it out. It's like, okay, cool. Like we understand that language that we're speaking, in addition to getting used to the gym and being like, oh, if, for instance, like a shoulder press, oh, if this machine's taken, is there a dumbbell? Is there a cable machine where I can kind of do the same movement? Brittney, throughout this episode, you are coming across as a badass in the gym, a badass with her fitness. And so I'd love for you to talk about a time in your journey where it wasn't as easy as it sounds, and maybe you got tripped up a little bit, and what that was on your journey, and then how you were able to bounce back.
Sure. So it is not all sunshine and rainbows. There are super hard days, hard weeks, and sometimes it's all external things. Like, I recently have had different things come up in my life with previous relationships, family stuff, and it has been things where I have lost sleep over it. I've been stressed, I haven't been in the zone, so to speak, and I lean on Rita. I lean on my coach because she is there in my corner. And I feel like a lot of times people are afraid to lean into their coach and afraid they're like dumping on them, so to speak. And I always preface, if I'm going to dump, I like tell Rita beforehand, I'm like, hey, number 5, it's going to be a dump, like fair warning. But it's something that I think it's important to share, because I could easily just lie on my check-in and be like, no, everything's fine. Like, I'm good. Don't worry about it. But doing that is not going to help me. It's hurting me further. So when I reach out to her about it, I am met with nothing but love, support, and compassion back, where I fully trust her and I fully know she has what's best for me in her mind too. So when I am struggling, she can help bring me support that I don't even know I need. Just even echoing like, wow, that's really difficult. Like, thank you for sharing. And this week, just focus on getting better sleep. It's something that it doesn't have to be, do this all the time. It is just focus on what you can control and keep moving through the motions. And so recently, I've had a few setbacks just with personal things going on and not being able to get my mind right or let certain things go. And now with that support, I'm able to kind of compartmentalize a little bit, feel my feels when I need to, but also know it's all temporary. Like, you'll get through it. You've made it through 100% of your bad days so far. So you'll make it through this too.
Also getting that third party validation, like you said, to like a coach or a mentor to express, wow, you're doing this really on hard mode, on boss level, and I recognize your effort. For instance, on that point, I was working with Coach Spencer for a little bit in the early part of the year. And I remember there was a check-in where our gas went out at our apartment. And thankfully, the last time it had went out, which was right before 2020, I bought like an electric stovetop thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so I check in with Spencer and I'm like, yeah, we have, it's been a tough week. We had IVF related appointments and this, that, and the other thing. And like, we're getting ready to move, and like, oh yeah, the gas went out, so we can't cook. So I'm using this cooktop thing. And Spencer came back and he was like, I just want to let you know, like, the fact that you still hit your workouts and you're still hitting your macros and you're still hitting your water. He was like, I am so impressed, because each one of those things could take somebody down. And you have that, and you don't really think about it in a fitness context, but you have that response as a client to be like, oh, wow, like, I guess you're right. Like, I've been way too hard on myself and I have all of these external things going on. Also, kudos to you and Rita for working together to know that it's not bleeding into the rest of your fitness journey. You're still making it to the gym. You're still taking care of yourselves. And we could argue that that probably allows you to be the best version of yourself, to be able to handle everything that comes up, but to be able to separate, like what we have in our check-in responses or check-in template rather, of, hey, like, yeah, I have this bucket to let you know that there's some crazy stuff going on in life. For instance, are you aware of do you and your partner use the number system to kind of do like a check-in on where the other person is?
Not so much a number system, but we will definitely check in with each other sometimes. Or if I'm super quiet or something, he'll be like, hey, are you okay? And I'm notorious for being like, yeah, I'm fine. And I'm not fine. So I'm working on sharing more of like, no, I'm not okay, but I need some time, or whatever the case may be. And I know when he's having hard days, I can visibly see it and check in with him of like, not trying to make it worse, but like, how can I help you? Like, what are the things that I need to do? And there was actually a moment where I had listened to an episode of your podcast about HALT, like, is it hunger, anger, lonely, tired, like what's going on? And I had like kind of snapped at Chris, and I came back and I was like, wow, I'm really sorry, that was uncalled for. I'm just hungry. It's just something that I check myself as well. I'm like, why am I having this reaction? But I also ask him too, like, what's going on?
That's a moment for some life coaching too, because what I love about that story, Brittany, is you followed up with, "Oh my God, like I'm sorry, I'm off the rails. Like I caught myself. I want to take all that back, and the reason why I'm this way is because I'm hungry," or like you said, the other rest of the acronym, and that's okay. Like I try to teach that in a life coaching capacity, and that's what Dayla and I do. Like if we say something that we don't mean or we recognize in the moment, like it is okay to be like, hey, like my bad. This is, it's not an excuse, but it's like, oh, this is impacting me and now I want to change it. The reason why I brought it up is Dayla and I would use the number system a lot. We got this from a relationship coach that we saw last year, and we often will tell the other person. So we try to get ahead of it. And I might say, hey, Dayla, I'm a 3 today for whatever reason. Right. And so now she knows, like, hey, if Kobe is going to have to go out, maybe she can let him out. I might not be as active with doing chores, and maybe she can help me out. Right. Versus if you're both at like a 3, then it's like, okay, we're just going to try to survive it. The reason why I mention it is on a check-in, you saying, hey, I have these personal things going on. Now, Rita, as your coach, and the other coaches on the team can go, oh, okay. Now, if you missed a time at the gym, like I get it. Or you went over your macros for this meal, I get it. It kind of gives us a little bit of a preface. And I think that's something that we can all use in our lives, whether it's in our fitness journey, in our relationships, and even just with ourselves, right? Just doing a check-in, how do I feel today? If I'm like a 6 out of 10, okay, how can I be kinder to myself?
Yes. And that's something that I definitely utilized back in May. I ended up, I went to a festival, EDC Las Vegas, and it was so fun, so awesome, best thing ever. Came back and was like, okay, like let's kind of try to get back into things, but I wanted to slow down so I didn't like go too far, and ended up having COVID. It was something that I was like, dang it, like of course, I don't know, I've avoided it for 2 years and now here we are, I've got freaking COVID. And I remember talking to Rita and was like, listen, I don't know how it's gonna affect me, but I need you to know I've got COVID, and so far I'm really tired, but that's kind of it. And she immediately was like, oh my gosh, don't worry about workouts, don't worry about anything, focus on eating some good stuff, get some water in. If you feel up to it, have some steps. Like, do not overly stress this. Like, you need to relax and recover. And I remember being like, oh, yeah. Like, right now, it's nothing. It's all good. And I went on a walk with Rocky, and I had to turn around because, oh my gosh, a 10-minute walk. I was like, I can't breathe. And so it was something, knowing that I have that support to be like, okay, I don't actually have to stress about this. I can utilize rest time and I'm not losing progress. I'm literally taking care of my body, and it's okay. I don't have to feel bad about being sick, you know?
Yeah. And getting that allowance, because again, we kind of beat ourselves up when we're not feeling the
Oh, yeah.
greatest. I mean, I think that's kind of a badge of honor that you didn't get COVID, and then it took a 3-day event with like 100,000 people in the same place
Yeah.
each day to do it. It's like,
Right?
oh, that's how I got it.
Yep.
Um,
Out of
I,
all the things.
I do want to come back around for an EDM conversation towards the end of the
Oh,
episode,
yes.
because I think that would be fun.
Absolutely.
And I wanted to also save time for some notes that you said you took, but sort of my last question is, what would you say to someone interested in joining DLDNation?
Oh my gosh. Okay. So I actually have notes for this because I really wanted to like let people know, but do it. Like, don't contemplate it, just do it. The amount of time I've lost contemplating, is this worth it? Is it this? Is it that? Absurd. Just do it. It's something that I feel that so many people are so confident in other areas of their life to seek out help. If you're going to buy a house, you're usually going to go to a real estate agent. Or if you're going to want to invest money, you're going to go to a financial planner. Or if you're not feeling so great, you're going to go to a doctor. You're going to go to an expert that they have. So why not do the same thing with your health? Like, why not? It's something that I was totally the type to be like, no, I can do this by myself. Like, I got this. I've done it before. And all the times before didn't work out so great. So at this point, it's like, it's okay to ask for assistance. And I totally get the financial aspect of it, where you're nervous about spending X amount of money towards something like this, but your health is worth it. Your journey for that is worth it. You have one life. You might as well go all in on it and go all in on yourself, because when you go in all in on yourself, you have so much more to give to other people. And the good thing with DLD, you've got multiple options. It's something that if you're worried about the money part, they've got DLD Universal. If you are ready to go one-on-one with a coach, they have that too. And it's something that the community aspect of this, unreal. I remember talking to someone at the gym last week, and they had asked, oh, what are you doing? Like, I see you in here all the time. Like, what's going on? And I let them know. And I talked about mindset support, and they were like, wait, what? They offer that? And it's so huge. It's something that I look forward to that call every single week. It is something that gets me through so many things. And I've never taken the time to work on myself physically and mentally at the same time and really dive in. And I would contemplate it all the time. And now I'm like, yes, I'm going to do it. It is worth it. It is something that you're not going to regret. You are going to be so happy you did. So stop thinking about it and just do it.
First off, thank you for that. Secondly, I promise those listening, I did not prep Brittney for all the offerings that we have at DLDNation. It was like you were just rolling through like, well, if you can't do this, we got this. If you can't do that, you can do this one. So
I mean, it's unreal. It's something that I've never heard of another program that offers so much. And I think I've been so successful because I've utilized the things that are being offered. And it's like, why not? Why wouldn't you use it?
Well, thank you. And you followed the blueprint. Like, Dayla and I both realized what we were looking for in our journeys and what we could provide. And then as DLDNation has grown, we've been able to provide more support, like the weekly calls. Dayla even told me the other day that we have a Thinkific course for clients that are brand new. It's like, this is everything. And they can like roll through the online course. And I had no idea that even existed. So there's even things that we have in the company to help out our clients that Sean does not know about. Something that I wanted to tease out of what you said, Brittney, was there's never going to be a perfect time, quote unquote. And
Right.
that's something that I remind myself of from time to time. Like, I had some other projects that were sort of rattling around my brain, and I even caught myself like 3 weeks ago going, well, you know what? I'll just wait until after my book comes out. And then I'll get to those things. It's like, nope, Sean, catch it. Like, you could probably do that now, or at least get the ball rolling. And so I really like how you pointed out that everyone should just do it. Like, that's the slogan for Nike for a reason.
Exactly.
Of course, you'd mentioned that you had a ton of notes. And so I'm curious if you had anything else that you wanted to share, because before hitting record, for those listening, Brittney was like, this is so cool. She was like, yes, I am nervous / excited to be on the show, but it is so cool that I can give back to others in a major way. And so they can see the same success that I've seen. So I'm curious if you have any other notes that you'd like to share before diving into like an EDM centric conversation.
Absolutely. The biggest thing is just, I used to be afraid of like carbs and this and that and the other. And I have seen so much more progress eating an absurd amount of carbs than I did when I cut it out completely. So don't be afraid of them. They're good for you. You can have so much fun with meals instead of dreading meal prepping, being like, I'm just going to have chicken and broccoli. Like, it doesn't have to be that way. And knowing what I know now, I'm so thankful because I feel so good and I'm in a cut. It's something that I have done cuts before and I have felt awful, absolutely awful. And I would be like at an absurd amount of carbs, so low that it is not okay. And now I'm in this safe space where I feel confident in doing this and moving through the motions. And I know that if I am feeling a type of way, I can lean on a coach to talk about it with. And also that your worth does not mean you have to be a certain number on a scale. Your worth, no matter what you are, is perfect. I remember talking, I think it was on a mindset call where someone said, if I gave you your perfect body and you weigh the exact same as you weigh right now, would you care? And of course you're like, absolutely not. I'd be feeling fantastic. It doesn't matter. And it's a really hard thing to think about, but your dream body is probably heavier than you think. You know, it's something that now I don't look at, oh, I want to be super skinny. It's like, no, I want to be strong. Like, I want to be able to be a badass female. Like, I'm like, let's do this. Let's be strong. And, you know, I also am a recovering people pleaser. So I no longer change who I am to please somebody else. I know that growing up, people would say, like, you know, don't change who you are, or not everybody's going to like you, and that's okay. And I would even tell people that. But in my mind, I'm like, no, 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 I can totally make everybody like me. It's fine. Like, I can do it. And the truth is, like, I don't need to do that. It's something that I will not change who I am, but I will reprioritize my energy now into people who want to be in my life and want to have a reciprocated relationship. Um, and it's something that it's okay to be comfortable with yourself, and you should be comfortable with yourself. You know, you're your number one cheerleader. Be who you are, and if people don't like it, that's okay. You know, it's something that they'll find somebody else to hang out with. You know, so it's something that I have such a newfound love for myself that I never thought I would have. So it's just, it's so freaking cool. And I just thank everybody at DLD, Coach Rita, family, friends, my husband, like literally everyone who has supported me through this journey. I would not be able to have such a confidence if I didn't go all in like this.
I have nothing to add to that. That was very well said. I appreciate it. Have you seen the Taylor Swift documentary? It came
Mhm,
out like a year or two ago.
mhm.
Yeah. What I thought was she said something profound that what you said reminded me of, Brittany, is she said she was kind of like a stick and she was not eating and she was just like, I need to be skinny. And then when she started going on the road for shows, she said her body was just breaking down and she couldn't keep up
Yeah,
with it. And so she hired a coach to help her just eat.
yeah,
And she said that she was like, my body did change, but I'm okay with that because now all of a sudden I could do back-to-back shows. It wasn't taking me down. I
yeah,
wasn't so tired. And so she was kind of like saying to the haters, like, hey, yeah, if I have a little bit more weight on my bones, like, screw you, because I feel
yeah.
great. I'm able to perform. I'm able to entertain and like do my thing. And I think that's something that we miss because of all the programming that we get from the media and people saying that we need to look a certain way. And so I really appreciate you trusting
Totally.
us and it changing your perspective on things. So kind of ending the episode with some fun EDM talk. You went to EDC
Mhm.
Vegas. I
I
call
did.
that one of the Super Bowls of EDM shows. I did
Oh, for
EDC as
sure.
well. So what were some of your favorite acts that you got to check out at EDC Vegas?
Oof. Okay. So many of them were mind blowing. But one of the ones that surprised me the most was actually seeing Shaq DJ. His DJ name is DJ Diesel, and he goes harder than so many people I would have ever guessed. So he was awesome to see. We saw Headhunters, which is like hardstyle EDM, and I loved them. And the Tweakas, we also saw them, which again, another hardstyle.
Is that
That was
I'm
great.
picking up a theme. Is that sort of
Oh yeah,
your
yeah.
genre?
I'm
Yeah.
a hard style big room kind of a person. Yes. My favorite DJ ever is DJ Timmy Trumpet, and he plays the trumpet while he DJs, and he's also just crazy. So he's fun to watch. And we didn't get to see him at EDC, but the day we landed, we literally got off a plane, checked into the hotel, and went to a pool party because he was DJing that. So it was one of those, I still got to see him. Um, but yeah, lots of different ones that I had never heard of before. So that was kind of cool too, like being able to see people like that. Even Dylan Francis was fun to see. Um, it's crazy on that state. Those stages are just absurd,
Yeah.
absolutely absurd,
It's out of control. Timmy
out
Trumpet.
of control.
I talked so much crap about that guy. And then we went and saw his show or his set at EDC Vegas. And it was like, oh, like this isn't too bad. And so I got a lot of
Yeah.
crap because it was like one of the best ones that we saw when we went. And I was so against it. I was like, no, guys. And I sort of got dragged there and have some
Yep.
cool videos from that. Also with Shaq, so he had many nicknames playing, but one of his
Uh-huh.
nicknames was Shaq Diesel or the
Mhm.
Diesel. And so that's where that name comes from. Let me see. So have you seen Excision live? I'm guessing that that's more your style.
Yes. So Excision's actually my husband's like favorite. And he was playing at like 3:30 in the morning and our bus was at 4. So we only got to see a little bit of his set, but it was still awesome. And the other day he was actually putting his clothes away and he was watching Excision set from EDC, the rest of it. So he could see it.
That's cool. So did you start
Yeah.
out, because I find, at least speaking personally, before I knew what EDM was and before I really knew what techno was, I was listening to house music. It was really Tiesto's In Search of Sunrise albums. Yeah. So did you start with house and then like evolve? Because I remember when I started there and then I'd hear dubstep or some of the hard style stuff, I'd be like, oh, I don't know about that. And now that's pretty much all I listen to. Excision still is a little too much. Like I joke with friends that I can probably hang out for like 15 minutes and then I want to go grab a drink or just like hang out and talk versus some of the other artists. But was that your path as well? Like come in with house and then end up over on this other side of the spectrum?
Was. Yes, it absolutely was. My aunt Shannon actually was an EDM person, like she still is through and through, and she loved Tiesto, and I looked up to her, so I wanted to love Tiesto too, and I truly did. Like she got me into it just from exposing me to that kind of music, and I remember that album from Tiesto and I used to play it nonstop. It was something that, and I think there was one, I think it was called Traffic or something like that, that I also would play all the time. And from there, I started like listening to like David Guetta when he started coming out and lots of mainstream stuff. And now I also agree with you. Sometimes Excision is too much for me. I have to be in a certain mindset where at a festival, I feel like I can do it for a little bit and then I'm like, all right, let's go see somebody else. But like I couldn't do like a full show, I don't think, but I do listen to him when I work out because I feel like he just gets my juices going.
Right.
But again, it's only a song or two at a time. But yeah, it has evolved and I will forever and always be a big room person. I just, the old school Hardwell and all of that as too, just good stuff.
I don't know the answer to this question, but have you listened to my Fuck It Up playlist on
Yes,
Spotify?
I have.
Okay.
Yes,
cool.
I have. I actually have it saved.
Hey, I appreciate that. Yeah, it's like 11 hours at this point. It's definitely powered me through workouts. I just started dumping things. Like I have the other playlist is No Skip Bangers, and that's like what I'm listening to right now. But then I just keep putting stuff into Fuck It Up. And it's one of the greatest compliments I could get, which is like, man, I played your playlist, or like I'll have someone random tag me on Instagram and they're like, oh my God, this playlist, I just found it. Like somebody recommended it to me. It's a ton of fun.
It's awesome. And it's those like, I think maybe it was you that posted it the other day on Instagram. It was like, when I first started working out and it had like songs or whatever that was happening. And then it's like now where it's like, wop, wop, wop.
Yep.
Like,
yeah, exactly. Just noises.
Me.
It's just robot noises that I'm listening to while I'm at the gym. Well, that's super cool. It really reinforces a theory that I have, is that everybody comes in through house and then you sort of like meander different places. Like I was very fortunate to see Tiesto in Vegas. I was there for it was a past life. I was there for a work event and he happened to be spinning at like Hakkasan in Vegas or something. And we went from like a private room or area, like bar area that they had for this event. And then they were like, yeah, if you go down in the elevator, like you leave. If you go up in the elevator, you can go to the dance floor where like everybody else is. Mm-hmm. And so I remember I was in the elevator with like a packed crowd and we go up and the doors open and it's just like wall to wall people, like lights everywhere, all this stuff. And me and one other guy, we take a step out of the elevator and we look at each other and we're like, oh my God. And then we look back at everyone else and the elevator doors are like closing and they're like, later, like we are not doing this. Yeah. And then my friend and I were just like, we're just going to have fun. This is great. So it's definitely an experience. Absolutely.
It is. And I definitely recommend everybody go to something like that, whether it's a one day show or just like a concert somewhere. Go, because it's so much fun. Even if you don't know who the people are, you can dance like an idiot and it's great.
So if you've gotten nothing else from this episode other than join DLDNation and go to EDM shows and festivals, that's all you need from this episode.
That's right. 2 keys in life. There you go.
Brittney with the major keys. Well, Brittney, I appreciate you so much. Thank you for hanging out with us. This was a lot better. Like, you didn't have to be that nervous, right? It was all good.
Oh my gosh, such an overthinker. It's absurd. It's one of those you'd think by now I wouldn't be, but this was great. It was awesome. Thank you so much for choosing me to be a part of this. And it's great. Checking it off the bucket list. This is so cool.
Well, thank you for being down for it. I appreciate it. You probably know what I'm going to ask next. Do you want people to hit you up? Do you want people to connect with you on Instagram? There's no wrong answers here. Okay, cool.
Absolutely. So, why not?
What would be the best way for people to do that?
Instagram for sure. It's Brittney.Devine. And that's the handle.
That's an easy one.
Yeah. I was super glad it was available. Yeah, I was like, wow. All right, I have a unique enough name, I guess.
Yeah, that's awesome. Great. Well, hey, thank you again. I really appreciate it. And I will see you on Mindset Support soon.
Yes, I will see you soon. Thank you so much for having me. This was a blast.